Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Speak English Daily. I'm Emma. Picture yourself in this moment. You're in a meeting. Your manager is reviewing your project in front of the whole team. And then you hear, "This isn't what I asked for. The quality is below our standards." Your face gets hot. Your heart pounds. Everyone is looking at you. Your mind goes blank. What do you say? If you've ever frozen in that moment, you're not alone. This is one of the most stressful situations for international workers and students in English-speaking countries. Receiving criticism, especially at work, feels like an attack. And when it happens in English, a language that's not your first, it's even harder. You want to defend yourself, but you don't know how. You want to respond professionally, but the words won't come. So you say nothing. Or worse, you say something that makes it worse, and later you replay the moment over and over in your head, thinking, "Why didn't I say?" Here's the truth. How you respond to criticism determines your career success. In American, Canadian, and British workplaces, people who handle criticism well are seen as mature and professional, coachable and willing to learn, confident and emotionally intelligent. But people who get defensive or emotional, they're seen as difficult to work with. Today, you're going to learn 35 phrases that will transform how you handle criticism. These aren't defensive responses. These aren't aggressive comebacks. These are professional, calm, and powerful responses that native speakers use too. Acknowledge feedback without getting defensive. Ask for clarification when criticism is vague. Stand up for yourself when criticism is unfair. Turn criticism into an opportunity to grow. And here's how we'll do this. First, you'll practice 35 phrases with me. Then we'll listen to 2 real workplace conversations showing exactly how these phrases work when your boss criticizes you. By the end, you'll have the language to handle any criticism with confidence and professionalism. Here's how the shadowing works. You'll hear each phrase 3 times. First time, natural speed. Listen carefully. Second time, slow speed. Focus on each word. Third time, natural speed. Say it with confidence. Don't worry about perfection. Focus on the feeling of responding with calm professionalism. You can listen while you're walking, cooking, or just relaxing. This is designed to work even if you're not looking at the screen. And here's the most important thing. You don't need to memorize all 35 phrases. Just listen, repeat, and let the ones that resonate with you sink in naturally. Later, you'll choose your favorites. Ready? Take a deep breath. Feel the power of responding professionally. Let's begin this journey together. Shadowing practice. Category 1. Acknowledging feedback. We're starting with the most important skill, acknowledging criticism without getting defensive. These phrases show you're listening and willing to consider the feedback. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I understand your concern. I understand your concern. I understand your concern. That's a fair point. Fair point means valid or reasonable observation. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. Excellent. You're learning to receive feedback with maturity. Now, sometimes criticism is too vague. You need to understand exactly what the problem is. These next phrases help you ask for specific details professionally. Category 2, asking for clarification. When criticism is unclear, these phrases help you understand exactly what needs to improve. Can you give me a specific example? Can you give me a specific example? Can you give me a specific example? What specifically would you like me to improve? What specifically would you like me to improve? What specifically would you like me to improve? Could you help me understand what you mean? Could you help me understand what you mean? Could you help me understand what you mean? Which part didn't meet your expectations? Which part didn't meet your expectations? Which part didn't meet your expectations? Can we walk through this together? Walk through means go through step by step. Can we walk through this together? Can we walk through this together? Can we walk through this together? Great work! Now you can get the specific information you need. Next, let's learn how to take responsibility when the criticism is valid without being too hard on yourself. Category 3, taking responsibility. These phrases show accountability while maintaining your professionalism. You're right. I should have done that differently. You're right. I should have done that differently. You're right. I should have done that differently. I take full responsibility for that. I take full responsibility for that. I take full responsibility for that. That's on me. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. That's on me means it's my fault. I'm responsible. That's on me. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. That's on me. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. That's on me. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. I can see where I went wrong. I can see where I went wrong. I can see where I went wrong. I should have communicated better. I should have communicated better. I should have communicated better. Excellent. You're showing maturity and accountability. Now, after acknowledging the criticism, you need to show you're committed to improving. These phrases demonstrate your action plan. Category 4, committing to improvement. These responses prove you're not just listening, they're ready to do better. I'll work on that. I'll work on that. I'll work on that. Let me revise this and get that to you. Let me revise this, and get back to you. Let me revise this and get back to you. I'll make those changes right away. I'll make those changes right away. I'll make those changes right away. Can I show you a revised version by tomorrow? Can I show you a revised version by tomorrow? Can I show you a revised version by tomorrow? I'd like to learn from this. What would you recommend? I'd like to learn from this. What would you recommend? I'd like to learn from this. What would you recommend? Perfect. You're showing initiative and willingness to improve. Now, sometimes you need more context to understand what went wrong. These phrases help you get that information without sounding defensive. Category 5. Seeking context. These help you understand the bigger picture behind the criticism. Can you help me understand your perspective? Can you help me understand your perspective? Can you help me understand your perspective? What were you expecting to see? What were you expecting to see? What were you expecting to see? I want to make sure I understand correctly. I want to make sure I understand correctly. I want to make sure I understand correctly. Could you share what success looks like for this? Could you share what success looks like for this? Could you share what success looks like for this? I'd appreciate more context about your concerns. I'd appreciate more context about your concerns. I'd appreciate more context about your concerns. Excellent work. You're more than halfway through. Now, sometimes criticism is based on a misunderstanding. You need to gently provide your perspective. These phrases let you explain without sounding defensive or making excuses. Category 6. Providing context. When there's missing information, these phrases help you share your perspective professionally. I'd like to share my thinking on this. I'd like to share my thinking on this. I'd like to share my thinking on this. From my perspective, I thought we agreed on this approach. From my perspective, I thought we agreed on this approach. From my perspective, I thought we agreed on this approach. I was working with the information I had at the time. I was working with the information I had at the time. I was working with the information I had at the time. Let me explain my reasoning. Let me explain my reasoning. Let me explain my reasoning. I may have misunderstood the requirements. I may have misunderstood the requirements. I may have misunderstood the requirements. Great. Now, we have 5 more phrases, and these are for the toughest situations. When criticism feels unfair, too harsh, or crosses a line, These phrases let you stand up for yourself while staying professional. Category 7. Professional pushback. For situations where you need to respectfully disagree or set boundaries, I appreciate the feedback, but I see it differently. I appreciate the feedback, but I see it differently. I appreciate the feedback, but I see it differently. I understand your point, but I have a different view. I understand your point, but I have a different view. I understand your point, but I have a different view. I'm happy to discuss my work. Can we also talk about how we give feedback? I'm happy to discuss my work. Can we also talk about how we give feedback? I'm happy to discuss my work. Can we also talk about how we give feedback? Can we schedule time to discuss this privately? Can we schedule time to discuss this privately? Can we schedule time to discuss this privately? I want to improve. Can we focus on specific actions I can take? I want to improve. Can we focus on specific actions I can take? I want to improve. Can we focus on specific actions I can take? Incredible work. You just practiced 35 powerful phrases for handling criticism professionally. Take a moment. Take a breath. These phrases are now in your voice, in your memory, ready when you need them. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, I practiced the phrases, but how do they actually sound in a real conversation when my boss criticizes me? That's exactly what we're going to explore next. I'm going to walk you through 2 real workplace situations, the kind that happen all the time. You'll hear the full conversation. You'll hear how these phrases flow naturally in high-pressure moments. And you'll see that responding professionally to criticism actually earns respect. So keep listening. Let's dive into real life. Situation 1. Your boss criticizes your project in a meeting. This is a nightmare scenario for many people. Public criticism in front of colleagues. Here's how to handle it professionally.
I reviewed your report, and honestly, I'm disappointed. The data analysis is superficial and you missed several key points we discussed.
Thank you for the feedback. Can you give me a specific example of what was missing?
Well, you didn't include the quarterly comparison data. We talked about that.
You're right. I should have included that. I can see where I went wrong. Let me revise this and get back to you by end of day.
That would be good. Also, the formatting needs work.
Understood. What specifically would you like me to improve on the formatting?
The charts need better labels. Make sure they're clear.
Got it. I'll make those changes right away. Can I show you a revised version by 5 p.m.?
Yes, that works.
Now, let's pause and notice what just happened. First, you didn't get defensive when criticized publicly. You said, "Thank you for the feedback," and asked for specifics. This immediately showed maturity. Your manager calmed down because you were receptive. Second, when the criticism was valid, you took full responsibility. You're right, I should have included that. No excuses, no blaming, just ownership. Third, you committed to action with a specific timeline. Can I show you a revised version by 5 p.m.? This proved you're solution-oriented, not just apologizing. Fourth, and this is critical, by staying calm and professional, you actually earned more respect than if you had done it right the first time. Your colleagues saw you handle pressure well. That matters. Now, let's look at a different situation when criticism is vague and you need to understand what they really want. Situation 2. Your boss says your work lacks initiative.
I need to talk to you about your performance. You're doing the work, but you're not showing initiative.
I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. Could you help me understand what you mean by initiative?
You just do what you're told. You don't go beyond that.
I hear what you're saying. Can you give me a specific example of a situation where I could have shown more initiative?
Last week, when the client asked about the timeline, you just said you'd check with me. You could have figured it out yourself.
That's a fair point. I was working with the information I had at the time, but I can see now I should have been more proactive. What would success look like in that kind of situation?
I'd like you to make decisions on routine items without always checking with me first.
I understand your perspective. Could we walk through this together so that I'm clear on which decisions I should make independently?
Sure. Let's set up a meeting tomorrow.
Perfect. I'd like to learn from this. What would you recommend I focus on?
Just be more confident in your judgment. You know more than you think.
Thank you. I'll work on that. Let's break this down. First, the criticism was vague. You're not showing initiative. Instead of getting defensive or confused, you asked, "Could you help me understand what you mean?" This is powerful because it shows you want to improve and it forces your manager to be specific. Second, when they gave a vague answer, you pressed gently, "Can you give me a specific example?" Now, they had to think of a real situation. This made the feedback actionable. Third, you provided context without making excuses. I was working with the information I had at the time. This reminded your manager that you weren't being lazy. You were being cautious. Fourth, you turned it into a learning opportunity. What would success look like? And what would you recommend I focus on? This showed you're growth-oriented, not just defensive. Fifth, your manager's tone completely shifted. They went from critical to supportive. You know more than you think. This is what happens when you respond to criticism professionally. People want to help you, not attack you. Did you notice something important? In both conversations, you stayed calm. You asked questions to understand better. You took responsibility when appropriate. You committed to specific actions. The criticism became a productive conversation. That's the power of responding professionally to criticism. Now, before we finish, let me give you some critical reminders about what works and what doesn't. What not to do. Don't get defensive immediately. Bad example. That's not fair. You didn't give me clear instructions. Good example. I want to make sure I understand correctly. Could you share what success looks like for this? When you get defensive, people stop listening. They dig in harder. Don't make excuses. Add example. I was really busy and the system was slow and my teammate didn't help me. Good example. I take full responsibility for that. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. Excuses make you look immature. Ownership makes you look professional. Don't take it personally. Remember, they're criticizing your work, not you as a person. Add example. You always criticize me. You never see the good things I do. Good example. I appreciate the feedback. What specifically would you like me to improve? Don't argue in front of others. If criticism happens publicly and feels unfair, I understand your concern. Can we schedule time to discuss this privately? This shows professionalism while protecting your dignity. What to do? Do pause before responding. Take a breath, count to 3 in your head, then respond calmly. This pause makes you look thoughtful, not reactive. Do ask questions. Can you give me a specific example? What would you like me to improve? Could you help me understand your perspective? Questions show you're listening and want to improve. Do take notes. If possible, write down the feedback. This shows you're taking it seriously. Do follow up. After you make improvements, check in. I made those changes we discussed. Would you like to review it? This proves you're accountable. Cultural note for international workers. In Western workplaces, criticism is often direct. Your manager might say, "This isn't good enough," or "I'm disappointed." This can feel harsh, but it's not personal. It's just direct communication style. The expectation is you'll listen without getting emotional. You'll ask clarifying questions. You'll take action quickly. You'll follow up. When you do this, you're seen as professional and coachable, 2 of the most valued traits in any workplace. Let's go back to where we started. You're in a meeting. Your manager says, "This isn't what I asked for." But this time, you don't panic. You take a breath and say, "Thank you for the feedback. Can you give me a specific example of what was missing?" Your manager explains, you listen, you take notes. Then you say, "You're right. I can see where I went wrong. Let me revise this and get back to you by end of day." Your manager nods. The conversation moves forward. Because you responded like a professional, here's what to do next. Pick 5 phrases from today that felt most natural to you. Write them down. Then this week, practice responding to any feedback, even small comments, using these phrases. Notice how people respond differently when you stay calm and professional. Remember, criticism is not an attack, it's information. People who handle criticism well are the ones who get promoted. The people who get defensive or emotional, they stay stuck. You just learn to handle criticism in a language that isn't your first. That takes real courage. If this helped you, please like and subscribe. It helps other international workers find this content. Let me know in the comments, which situation do you struggle with most? Until next time, stay calm, stay professional, keep growing. This is Speak English Daily. I'm Emma. Thanks for listening. Bye, everyone.